Hey, I'm Jim,
Hey, it's Corey.
and today it's all about the Gladiator.
And a special secret, late breaking news that came out today. Let's go.
Here we go.
All right. So, the Gladiator, not the Scrambler, the Gladiator debuted yesterday. And of course, Jeep's long awaited pickup. And here's some pictures from the debut. I thought this one was pretty cool because it's obviously the pickup, but it's, the big keys here. It's very Wranglerish, of course. You have the windshield that's folded down like the Wrangler. The doors are off like the Wrangler. A little bit hard to tell here, but there's also the roof option that you can remove, the removable roof. So all those elements in the current Wrangler, they threw in the Gladiator, which I think is pretty cool. Didn't really care if it had it or not, but I didn't know it was going to have it.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I definitely didn't think that they would include the fold down windshield, and you still have the A pillars. I mean, it looks like normal behind. Usually.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting the way they engineered that. I like to see that up close.
Mm-hmm. And well, I believe it works just like the Wrangler. Are you familiar with how the Wrangler's, the new one, the windshield folds down? It's supposed to be just like five screws or 5 bolts, and
right.
Or I think it's a 5-minute process versus the old one, which took forever.
Yes, a little simpler than my 1990.
Slightly. So anyway, I thought that was pretty neat. I didn't really, it's not a big thing for me if they had it or not, but I thought it was cool. Of course, I'm sure this adds to the cost, I would think. But cost has not been revealed, but what has been revealed is the specs. So it's going to come first out of the gate. I believe it's in second quarter of 19, and it'll have the current V6 that's in the Wrangler, which is I think it's going to be the same stats as the Wrangler. I think it's so it's 285 horse and 260 foot-pounds torque.
Yep.
6-speed will be offered, which is fantastic. The diesel is coming in 2020. Sadly, no manual with the diesel.
Yeah, which stinks.
Yeah.
But the specs
are awesome. Yeah, specs are
260 horsepower.
Yep, 260 and 442 torque.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, if you compare it to the Colorado and the Canyon, a significant bump.
Yeah, just to compare, the diesel in the Colorado and Canyon is only 181 horsepower and 369 foot-pounds of torque in a turbo 4-cylinder diesel.
Mm-hmm. And it gets up, what I didn't look up is I'm pretty sure it's close to the numbers of the Eco diesel that's in the Ram. Not the Cummins, but the smaller diesel. Because that's what it's based off of.
Yes, right. Based off the outgoing Eco diesel in the Ram, correct. That's right.
Yeah.
3-liter.
So that's exciting. Not exciting, no manual, but
yeah, that's really, I mean, since they went through all the trouble of making this obviously an enthusiast car and keeping so much of the Wrangler features in the truck and keeping it so off-road centered, centric and all that, it's a shame that they didn't go that one last step. But what can you do?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's an option that'll ever make its way in future models, or if it's something that they couldn't really engineer in the current design.
Well, obviously gearing and gear ratios are going to be a big deal because it's going to be offered. The diesel's going to come with an 8-speed, or is it 10-speed? 8-speed. So even at that, the most you're going to have is a 6-speed. I mean, I guess they could do a 7-speed manual if they wanted to, but anyway, that's going to change a lot of the gear ratios, which problematic.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see how it performs. A lot of course, a lot of vehicles, unless it's a sports car, and even some sports car, the nice engine is not manual. It's just not there. So in this, It's nice that the 6 is offered with the manual, but the V6 is kind of.
Yeah. So
it's not like, it has decent numbers. The torque is nice, but it's the torque curve is not that nice. It's certainly no, inline 6 of the old days. A lot better numbers, but it doesn't perform the same.
Yeah. And so I think this is a decent segue for me to just jump in on the side note with a little bit with some of the towing capacities, because what I just learned recently is that the max towing capacity, which is really substantial, 7,650.
Yes.
More than it's a little bit more than the Colorado and just a touch more than the Ranger, which is surprising, but still it's kind of going to be best in class. But that's with the gas engine, not the diesel.
That was going to be my question.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe hopefully we get some bumps with the diesel.
So, well,
unless it's frame.
So, okay, so this is what I read. So 7650, that is with the gas engine. And the reason for that is not because the diesel is going to be more, is because there were some cooling issues with the diesel. And they actually had to do quite a bit more to get the diesel, to keep the diesel cool. And because of that, they felt like they needed to actually bump down the towing capacity. I guess they didn't feel like they could keep it cool under, such heavy loads, so that they actually dropped the towing capacity of the diesel, which is, completely counterintuitive. That's the
so
whole
do you mean
the diesels?
The diesel capacity will be below the 7,600?
Yes, below 7,600. So it's going to be less than the regular Pentastar V6. What?
Well, that's not good.
I know. That
doesn't make any sense.
That was my bombshell news, because I was like, what? So I had to go back and kind of reread, and they're bringing it all back to because there was some issue with cooling. If you look at the front grate on the Jeep, on the Gladiator, they actually had to make it wider. They were saying if you compare it to the gas versions of the Wrangler, and you look at it, they actually had to rework some of it to allow more air in to keep it cool, and that was mainly, as I understand, for the diesel. And but because of that, even doing that, I think they added in a whole different cooling system, a much higher capacity cooling system. But even at that, I guess they felt like they couldn't keep it cool under that much of a load, so that they're actually lowering the towing capacity for it. I don't know if that's subject to change,
right?
Because, like I said, it's just so counterintuitive that it would, everyone's going to. That's the reason you get the diesels, because you want a heavier duty truck and more towing capacity. So I don't know if that's the case, but I thought that was pretty darn interesting.
I've noticed. I think the slats, the grill, the 7 slot in the grill is wider.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's the reason.
And
it must be specifically for the diesel, because the other V6 engine is one that they're already using.
Yeah.
With the regular Wrangler cooling system, cooling grill, and the grill and everything else. So.
And it's just not. It's not going to be fun or enjoyable to be maxing out the V6 towing.
No.
And
no. Okay. So let me just jump just real quick, because the one thing that I, like I was saying, is very interesting is you've got the Ranger with only a 2.3 liter turbo 4-cylinder, but its towing capacity is up there at 7,500. I mean, it's right there. It's pretty much neck to neck, which is impressive. However, its stats, 270 horsepower, 310 foot-pounds of torque, so nowhere near what the diesel is going to be putting out in terms of torque.
Yeah.
But the towing capacity is right there. I assume, especially if they drop the towing capacity a little bit on the Gladiator's diesel, it's going to put it right in line at best with the Ranger's 7,500. But on the flip side, I've read, and it makes perfect sense, is do you really want a 2.3 liter turbo 4 pulling 7,500 pounds? Like, that sounds like something you do. Yeah, it does not seem like something that's going to have any sort of long-term durability. So that's interesting. It's interesting how they play these numbers. Obviously they want to put in their max specs so that they can be best in class or high up there. But when it comes down to actual real world usability and reliability, I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Jeep's going to have to figure that out. Can it not be better with the current design? Or I wonder if there's going to be I bet there'll be some aftermarket cooling solutions.
Oh, I'm sure of that. Here's another thing. You were just saying.
How limited is it? It's kind of like the the Z06 cooling issues. Even aftermarket designs couldn't really help a lot of track cooling issues because there just wasn't room for air in there.
Right.
And I think after 2015, I think in 17, the actual supercharger was larger. It was taller by an inch or so.
Mm-hmm.
That helped it. So, is it going to be a physical issue that even aftermarket doesn't, really help? Or is it something that Jeep can fix? Or is it not fixable until they do a refresh? Who knows?
Yeah. And here's another thing that I'm waiting to see. I couldn't find any specific specs on it, but we were talking about the differences between the automatics and the manuals. Well, it's the V6, the gas 6 that's going to have the option for a 6-speed manual. It's also the gas 6 that's going to have the highest towing capacity at 7650. So perhaps then the transmission doesn't make that much of it. Like, are you still going to be able to get the max towing capacity with only a 6-speed manual, as you will with whatever it is, the 8-speed automatic?
Who knows? The towing capacity that I have seen, they do not. Yeah, it doesn't say.
Yeah, I haven't seen those types of details yet, and that's super interesting to me.
Yeah,
especially when you're comparing these other mid-sized trucks, because there's, they're all vying for this, highest towing capacity or getting close to it, and there's a lot of trade-offs, which is the one thing that I really wanted to talk about. So the other big thing is, so you've got the Gladiator, especially in its Rubicon form, is definitely going to be, it's very off-road centric mid-sized truck, which the only thing that's really close to it is, I mean, I know you have the Toyota, you got the TRD Pro, which is pretty awesome, but in terms of like, I don't know. I don't know exactly how you'd want to say it, but obviously I'm thinking the Colorado, the ZR2.
Yeah,
that's the one. The Mini Raptor.
That's the only other mid-sized truck that has a front locker.
Right. So that's going to be your closest comparison in terms of just all-out off-road capability. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you go with the ZR2 and you get that suspension, which is fantastic off-road, however, as soon as you do that, your towing capacity drops to 5,000 pounds.
Yeah.
And this is real similar to the Raptor versus a regular F-150. Regular F-150, 10,000 plus pounds towing. As soon as you get that F-150 in Raptor form, even though it's got more power and all that, you really drop your towing capacity, because I assume it's just that soft suspension. Yeah, it's just not going to be able to handle that overall payload, and probably tongue weight is got to be. I mean, no doubt, you get a Raptor is going to sag with a lot of tongue weight, much more than your standard F-150. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with the ZR2 versus a standard Colorado or Canyon. So, so then going back to comparing the two mid-sized diesels, you've got the Gladiator, which will be a little bit less than 7650, but it's still going to be up there. I'm sure they're going to keep it in the 7,000 pound range. So if you can have a Rubicon Gladiator diesel still pulling, let's say, roughly around 7,000 pounds, that's going to blow out a ZR2 with only 5,000 pounds. If you're worried about both off-road prowess and towing capacity, which I assume you would be if you're going to opt and spend the extra money to get the diesel. Mm-hmm. I mean, that would be the point, in my opinion. I mean,
well, diesel's going to help you huge in both areas.
Yeah.
For low.
Yeah, it's so funny because you got
towing.
Yeah, I mean, you want the low end torque of the diesel, but at the same time, if you're looking at a real off road, so you're talking about ZR2, Rubicon, off road, differentials locked, and all that type of stuff, doing real off roading, you potentially will also be in 4 low, which, in my opinion, negates a lot of the need for the low end torque that you'd have in the diesels. I mean, the gearing takes over when you're in 4 low. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see and compare. Anyway, so like I said, just the more I was reading into it, I'm just seeing a lot of trade-offs between the towing capacity of the 3 trucks, and it'll be interesting to see the real world experiences with a Gladiator with all that torque and a high towing capacity. The Colorado, where you can, especially if you put in the diesel and all that, yes, you can have a big towing capacity as well, but then it doesn't really compare off-road with the Gladiator. And then the Ranger, so far they haven't released anything about a real off-road package for that, so it's not going to compare.
The Ranger to me is so far behind the other two. You know, it's just so much less exciting. There's not an extreme off-road version. You don't have a lot of power. It looks the wimpiest to me.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's more like it looks more like a Ridgeline or some other type of crossover truck than it.
Yeah.
Certainly the Gladiator or definitely the ZR2,
Mm-hmm.
all that. And again, like I was going back to it, yeah, you have less power, although they have a higher towing capacity. But then everyone's saying, I don't think you want to really push it with such a small engine. It's going to be really taxing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
a couple interesting things with the Gladiator. So, off-road suspension, as you mentioned, still there, still a high towing capacity. And they threw on, first time I've seen it on a Jeep of any, Fox shocks.
Yes. Right, which is what makes it comparable, much more comparable to the ZR2.
Mm-hmm.
But really, if you're going to compare mid-sized trucks, you've got to go with, the Gladiator is going to be much closer to the ZR2 than it's going to be a stock Ranger or even, definitely a stock Colorado.
And so where the difference then with the, because the ZR2 has, is it the Multimatic suspension where, it adjusts at like a million times a second, something huge like that. So it's not that, but it's still an off-road type shock. Still softer, but they still pull off the big towing capacity, so that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I also noticed that the tires they went with Falcons, which I honestly don't know too much about. I always thought of them as a cheaper, low-end tire, but maybe they're, bringing out some nicer stuff. It's an MT, and then I think they do say they offer an AT. But of course, the Wrangler now, they've got the BFG. They went from the Wrangler, the Rubicon in the previous generation had the BFG mud terrains.
Mm-hmm.
Current Wrangler, the JL has the BFG, the all terrains. They don't offer the mud terrains that I've seen anymore. And then, of course, we know the Ram and many others are doing the Goodyear Duratrax, which I think is a great tire. So, a little surprised maybe they didn't use it here, but
I think there's a big push with some of these smaller tire companies, or
get a manufacturer
lesser quality to put out a better quality tire. Yeah, mm-hmm. I noticed the same thing with Nissan with the Pro 4X models. Mm-hmm. So like the Xterra back in the day now, and the Frontiers and all that, and even the Titan. The Pro 4X models, which used to come with at least the regular ones used to come with BFGs, but now they're using another type of an off-brand tire that it looks like
you wouldn't think.
Yeah, you just wouldn't think would be on there. But anyway, apparently those tires are kind of stepping up their game. While you're talking, I got to look that up. I can't remember what the name of that tire was.
All right. The other thing, the Gladiator. Did you hear how large tires have the biggest size tires that you can fit stock?
35s?
37s.
37s?
You can fit 37 stock because have you seen the fenders are massive?
Yeah. So wait, so then that means the Rubicon comes stock with 35s.
Maybe. I thought that they were maybe 33s.
Okay. Wow, but 37 is enormous.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's like Hummer said.
Yeah. What else? I think the only thing that I saw that was a little different is that the bed, which I mean I don't have a pickup, so I don't know, but the bed is pretty short. Height-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems shallow. And they acted like, well, if you're going to hold, you're not going to be, Jeep says, you're not going to be getting a huge load of mulch in here. This is going to be that's going to be the full-size trucks. This is more for activities. You're going to throw in an ATV, a couple dirt bikes, things like that. So it looked short, but you can still fit a 4x8 sheet of plywood. And it's still a 5-foot box, I believe. So other than the shortness, it looked like a decent size. I don't know how big of a deal it being taller or shorter is or not. Being shorter, you can reach in from the outside easier access from the outside. But
hey, so just real quick, going back to the tire thing, because it's something I've noticed. When I'm bringing my Xterra for service, I've noticed that changeover on the Pro 4X models. So now they're using Hankook tires, Hankook Dynapro ATM.
I think those are pretty good though, and those are made in the U.S.
They're a good-looking tire, but it's the same thing. Hankook is not, certainly you wouldn't think of them before you think of BF Goodwrench, but here they are, and they're making a change on OEM tires now for their off-road models. So I'd
put them in a higher rung than the Falcons.
Yeah.
Although I think of Hankook or however you say them, more of a they have some decent off-road tires, but I thought of them more as a drag tire or a cheaper sports car tire. What else we have here? Oh,
you have
I do have breaking news. Hold on, one more Jeep thing.
Okay.
So the overall length is 218 inches.
Yes.
And that is going to be standard across the board, right? I don't think there is a
extended.
You're right. It's a standard bed, so you get the same bed with everything.
Yes, that's
same cab with everything.
Yep.
Also, everyone is 4-wheel drive only. I thought that was nice. You can't get 2-wheel drive. But 218 inches in length, so it's a completely unique frame. It's not just a Wrangler with a bed.
Right.
But it puts it it's 8 inches longer than the Ranger. It is kind of in the middle. It's about 6 inches shorter than an extended bed Colorado. Same thing with the Tacoma. And the Frontier is as long as 219 inches, so just about the same. So speaking of the frame and all that stuff, Jeep was saying that was one of the reasons why they didn't call it the Scrambler, because the Scrambler, they said it used to be, the Scrambler was basically a CJ7 with the bed. There was nothing different. And Jeep did make a Gladiator, which lasted longer than the Scrambler, and it was a unique frame, unique rear suspension. So that's where they're going with it. I guess it's accurate. I don't care. I would rather have the Scrambler name.
Yeah, it just means more. Well, it means more to us because honestly, I've never heard of a Gladiator before. Have you?
No, and so they keep saying this is our longest running pickup truck. Like there was a Gladiator that would lasted longer than a Scrambler.
All right. Well, while you're talking, I'll have to find this. Do you know what years, more or less?
I can tell you. Let's see.
It looks like 60s and 70s potentially. Okay. All right. So what I'm finding real quick. Here, hang on.
Here we go. The Gladiator name was shared with the longest running Jeep pickup truck line.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what?
So what I'm finding right now is that I've probably had over the years Gladiators and Scramblers mixed up in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I definitely know a Scrambler, but I would say that had I seen some of these Gladiators, are you seeing the pictures that I'm showing up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of those I would have assumed they were older Scramblers. I've never seen the name on the truck.
I haven't seen the name either.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look at that. How do we not know that?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Okay. Cool.
Yep. So, alrighty. Okay. My breaking news.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm excited to hear it because I was sure that it was about the diesel not having the higher towing capacity.
Nope. This is non-Gladiator related.
Okay.
Let me figure out how to share my screen now. Ta-da! And of course, I have a pop-up. So this is the C8 key fob.
Ooh.
Has been debuted. Couple cool things on here. So you can see, the design, and you see you've got a front or whatever you want to call it, opening release, as well as the back. Yeah. So of course this swings up from the rear, so that's a hatch.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. I thought this was interesting down here. Is this convertible, or are they going to do something different with the removable roof? Being empowered.
What's interesting, if you just look at it, is the graphic that they use it's different.
The graphic
slightly
of the
different,
car?
but Yeah, I mean, look at the top one where it shows the hood and the trunk up there. Look at the shape of the car versus the one there with what looks like a removable roof of some sort.
Yeah, it is a little different.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that's interesting.
I'm going to say that this is for the convertible because it sounds cool. I thought about it if maybe they did the removable roof of the coupe being powered, but that's just going to add weight.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that's not happening, and this is for the convertible.
And I'm probably the only person that doesn't like to see that double click to remote start the car, because that, of course, means
automatic
manual. Right.
Yes. I know. And let's see this. So up in the, I think. Well, no, that's incorrect. So they also unveiled the C8 logo. The Corvette blogger logo is what you see here.
Okay, that's not it.
Correct. That's not it. The C8 logo is very close to the. Oh, that's the inside of it. It's very close to the C7 logo.
Okay.
I don't think it's on here, is it? Oh yeah, no, there's. So here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a little bit different, but yeah, definitely similar with that more narrow and a kind of a tighter V pattern on the flags. Yeah. Cool.
So anyway, they snagged it. This is Corvette Blogger. They snagged it from FCC filing. So the question is, how close are we? How close do they have to get this in for it to be released? It's got the schematic here. So there's
they're spending that much time on the key fob. They must be close.
Yep. One of the guys I check, Corvette Conti. I'll plug him.
Yeah.
Follow him. So he's
link
a Corvette.
In the description below.
Yes, I will. So he is he's just a salesman in a dealer in Ohio, but has awesome deals, and he just puts out content that I don't see from anybody else as far as Corvettes. The way how Corvette works, a lot of the features in it. So if you want to see how something works, he probably has the video on it, just like anything from seats to different sport modes, track modes, whatnot. And then also he gives you a lot of sales information, and he's a guy you would want to talk to that knows something versus when you go to your local dealer and they know absolutely nothing about the car. They don't know how to order it. They don't know timeframes. This guy, he knows.
Sound like you've had personal experience.
I have, indeed. So, he'll let you test drive things.
Yes.
So anyway, he's the one who he actually had a video today about it. I will link it below. And he thinks so either that this is going to debut in Detroit in January, or he has been throwing out the possibility of it debuting at the Corvette Museum sometime in the spring, which would be different, or he's now thinking possibly at the New York Auto Show because the first Corvette was debuted there. So, but he doesn't know, and once he does, he will announce it to the world.
Well, obviously they are bringing out a mid-engine Corvette, and if so, they're going to want as much pomp and circumstance as possible with that, because that's a huge leap in the Corvette legacy. So, Cool deal.
So yeah, the time frame means it's up in the air because Corvette C7 ordering goes through currently, I think, March. So will it be extended if this is delayed? There's a lot of questions on because people are trying to figure out should they order a C7 now and how long do they have? They might not have too much longer, but maybe they do if the C8's delayed. Who knows?
Yeah. Very cool.
That's my news.
There you go. So shall we wrap up right there?
Yep.
Very good.
Until next time.
Until next time. We'll see you later.
Later.